Hello, everybody. Hello, whoever is watching this. My name is Madeline Long John, and this is officially my first video for this project. I'm really excited. I'm very excited. I got funding from a wonderful organization called Be Inspired, and they provided me with money to get books, loads of children's books like this one and this one. I'm going to be reading. There's like loads more actually. So the funding basically is to do this project that I hold, that is very dear to my heart. It's called Stories Mama Told Me, and I'll be making bedtime stories every once in a while, several times a week, for young people to watch, and we'll see how it goes. So today I'm making my first video since I got the funding. That is, I've made other videos, but this is my first video now. So right, I'm going to be reading a book by Roger Hargreaves, and it's called Mr. Tall. It's a story for children, and I'm going to start reading now. I hope you enjoy it. Right, Mr. Tall by Roger Hargreaves. Mr. Tall was very, very, very tall. Quite the tallest person you've ever met. In fact, quite the tallest person you've never met. Because you've never met anybody with legs as long as Mr. Tall's legs. Have you? Right. I don't know. I think that's Mr. Tall. That's supposed to be Mr. Tall, I think. Yeah. Right. Now, the problem with being as tall as Mr. Tall meant that life was just one long problem. So you can see, life must really be a very long problem, having such long legs. Right, let's keep reading. Oh dear, he used to sigh. Oh dear me, I do so wish that my legs weren't quite so very, very long. Aww. He decided to go for a walk to think over his problem. He was just stepping over a tree when he heard a voice. A little voice. Hello, the voice said. It was Mr. Small. Mr. Small, okay. Standing underneath a daisy. A daisy is a beautiful flower, by the way. But Mr. Tall was so tall he couldn't see him. So Mr. Small shouted at the top of his voice, hello. Okay. As Mr. Small shout is about as loud as a bee's sneeze. Right. By the way, that's Mr. Tall and that's Mr. Short. You can see the contrast. Right. So it took quite some time for Mr. Tall to spot him. Oh, he said gloomily. It's you. You don't look very happy, said Mr. Small. What's up? I am, said Mr. Tall, because of these silly long legs of mine. Oh, said Mr. Small. Mr. Small decided to cheer him up. Let's go for a walk together, he suggested. So they did, which of course didn't work. It was like a giraffe going for a walk with a mouse. Now, look, that's Mr. Small and Mr. Tall going for a walk. Right, the story is getting more heated. Let's see what happens. Then Mr. Small had an idea, which did work. Okay, I love ideas. And because of the length of Mr. Tall's legs, they very quickly walked all the way to the seaside. Come for a swim, cried Mr. Small. Can't, replied Mr. Tall, or by the time it gets deep enough for me to swim, I'll be out the other side. Oh, right. So Mr. Small went for a swim, while Mr. Tall sat down with a face which was nearly as long as his legs. Aww. Right. So, Mr. Tickle came along. Hello, he said. You look as if you need cheering up. Care for a tickle? No, thanks, replied Mr. Tall. What I would care for are some different legs. Mine are much too long. Okay. Right. So are my arms, said Mr. Tickle cheerfully. But all the better for tickling. And off he went, chuckling, looking for somebody to tickle, looking for anybody to tickle. Okay, right. Mr. Nosy came along. Cheer up, he said. You look very down in the mouth. What's the problem? It's my legs, replied Mr. Tall. They are too long. Okay. So's my nose, replied Mr. Nosy, laughing. But all the better for poking into other people's business. And he went off, looking for something to be nosy about. Looking for anything to be nosy about. By the way, that's Mr. Nosy with a really, really, really long nose. Right. Mr. Greedy came along. Hello, he cried. You look gloomy. What's wrong? It's my legs, explained Mr. Tall. They are too big. So is my tummy, replied Mr. Greedy, but all the better for filling with food. And off he went, licking his lips. By the way, that's Mr. Greedy with a really, really big tummy. I bet no one has a tummy that big. Right. Mr. Tall sat there and thought about Mr. Tickle's arms and Mr. Nosy's nose and Mr. Greedy's tummy. He smiled. And then he grinned. And then he laughed out loud. He looked at his legs. Those very, very, very long legs of his. All the better for walking, he chuckled. And walked home in 4 minutes. 40 miles. Wow. He walked 40 miles in 4 minutes because he had really long legs. It's amazing. Let's keep reading. Mr. Small came out of the sea after his short swim. And how am I going to get home, he asked himself. So he set off walking all the way home. 40 miles. That was last year. Oh, poor Mr. Small. Right. Oh, he got home yesterday. Right. So, that is the end of the story, Mr. Tall, by Roger Hargreaves. Right. So, I hope you enjoyed the story, and I'd actually like to have a little chat about everything I just read. You know how Mr. Tall kept complaining about his long legs, and Mr. Nosy came along and said, oh, I have big nose, but I don't care. And Mr. Greedy came along and was like, I have big tummy, so what? See, everybody has that little thing they don't really like about themselves. But come on, look at it in a good way. The way Mr. Tall later thought about it, his long legs were actually good for walking long distances. So children, I don't know what you've learned from this story, but I have learned today to love everything about myself. Hope you had a good time. Alright then, bye.